All right, so we just had a heated interview between Kristi Noem and Fake Tapper on CNN. She absolutely obliterated him in the talking point surrounding how she's labeled Renee Good as a domestic terrorist. Now, before we get any further into this, please like this video, share this video, leave a comment down below, and please do not forget to subscribe. Let's start here.
I'm just waiting for the investigation to come through. I'm wondering if you're not doing a disservice to the officer by reaching a conclusion before the investigation takes place.
I haven't heard you say once what a disservice it's done for Mayor Fry to get up and to tell ICE to get the F out of his city, and AOC to stand up before she had any of the facts and call this officer a murderer. For individuals, well, call them out, Jake. Spend as much time calling them out.
Okay.
I have provided you with facts and information to back up every single word that we have said and every single part of this investigation. And if you don't like it, that's fine. But we're going to continue to do the right thing to keep the American people safe.
I know that you'd like to make me the topic of this and not what happened, but I did ask a Democratic senator just a few minutes ago about AOC's comments, and I don't actually even know what you're talking about when I ask questions as if like that's an assertion. It's a question.
All right, let me explain to you what's happening today. So Kristi Noem showed up to CNN and did an in-person interview. Kudos to her, of course, for showing up during this time and being willing to face Fake Tapper, which brings us to the pushback that she's been receiving because she called the acts from Renee Good as domestic terrorism. And of course, Fake Tapper spent a lot of his time trying to get her to walk those comments back, and she refused. In fact, I'll show you a clip of that. Take a look.
Facts of the situation are that the vehicle was weaponized and it attacked the law enforcement officer. He defended himself and he defended those individuals around him. That is the definition. When there is something that is weaponized to use against the public and law enforcement, that is an act of domestic terrorism. It happened in our shores. It happened here in our country. You don't get to change the facts just because you don't like them. We will continue to look at this individual and what her motivations were. We know that there was, throughout that morning, she had harassed and impeded law enforcement operations. That raises the suspicion level with all of these law enforcement officers as far as paying attention to what her capacity is. And as you see on the videos, and they've proven out, that this law enforcement officer took the action that his training prepared him for, and he worked to make sure that he could save his own life and those around him.
Okay, so first things first, this is the second time Kristi Noem mentioned the words domestic terrorism when describing Renee Good's actions, particularly the group she's been a part of. This is what they do every day. They follow, they surveil, and recently they've been impeding the operations of ICE agents. And the thing that is always left out is the local police department. They're not allowed to interfere in all of this. There is zero buffer between people like Renee Good and ICE agents. So you have something called domestic terrorism. I went here to the FBI's website, definitions, terminology, and methodology regarding domestic terrorism. And it's very clear, guys. It's referenced in U.S. Code 18 U.S.C. 2331, paragraph 5. Involves acts dangerous to human life that are a violation of the criminal laws of the United States. Also, appearing to be intended to intimidate or coerce a civilian population. Second one here, influence the policy of a government by intimidation or coercion, or affect the conduct of the government by mass destruction, assassination, or kidnapping, and occurring primarily within the territorial jurisdiction of the United States. The one I have highlighted, I think, sums up what that group has been doing, which is trying to influence the policy of the government by impeding law enforcement operations.
I want to stay on this question, which is about the way in which the woman who was shot and killed is being labeled as a domestic terrorist. Just to be clear, is anyone who protests ICE a domestic terrorist in the eyes of the administration? I can't say that. It's a case-by-case basis. But, if you look up the definition of terrorism, is there violence? Is there threat of violence based on an ideology that wants to change the way the government does what we do? Look up the definition of terrorism. But was Secretary Noem correct to label her a domestic terrorist, Mr. Homan? Look, we don't know what, I don't know what Secretary Noem knows and what I know. I can tell you is what they did is illegal. And
what I find to be interesting about all of this is now the media is obsessing over the words domestic terrorism. That if they actually took the time out to read the definition, one could argue, if they were really good in court, they could argue that she did fall into this definition because of her affiliation with a group whose sole mission is to do what exactly? Change the policy of the government regarding immigration. And they do that through the form of intimidation by what? Mass protests, blocking vehicles, doxing them, surveilling them, and impeding them. That's exactly what we saw in that clip with Renee Good. Unfortunately, she lost her life over it. And no one wants to see that, as I continue to say. All right, now let's go to this next clip. This is J.B. Pritzker reacting to Kristi Noem's comments. Take a look.
Well, what happened in Minneapolis is a tragedy, and it's one that we've seen twice, at least, in Chicago and in the Chicago area. We had a murder that took place by an ICE agent who claimed that he was seriously injured by somebody, and that's why he shot and killed him, Silverio Gonzalez Villegas. That was in September, by the way. And then there was another shooting in October. 5 times a woman was shot. ICE claimed that she had a semi-automatic weapon. She did not. But each time, the DHS, Kristi Noem, and her assistant secretary, Tricia McLaughlin, have put out statements within minutes, usually maybe within the hour, putting facts forward. At the beginning, we didn't know what the facts were because there weren't cameras on the situations. But then witnesses came forward, and we found out what really happened in both those situations. And that is why we know that ICE was at fault and why no charges have been brought against, for example, the woman who was shot 5 times, who they claimed was a domestic terrorist back then.
All right. Now, what you just heard there from the governor is another argument that Democrats will use to push back against ICE. It's the story out of Chicago where a woman was accused of ramming ICE officers off the road, led to her being shot 5 times. It gets into court, and all of a sudden, DHS and the DOJ, they drop the case against her with prejudice, meaning she will not be charged again. So what does that mean overall? It means that whatever case they had against that woman was flawed from the get-go. But using that particular story and trying to compare it to what happened with Renee Good, that's apples and oranges, okay? We have the video footage, we have the audio tapes, we have the eyewitness, we all seen it ourselves. There's no question that the ICE agent was hit by the vehicle. And in that split second, it's deference on his side to feel if he was threatened to use force. That is a different situation than what happened in Chicago. But of course, the governor will lie about it. Now, let's continue.
Now we're seeing it in Minneapolis. We're seeing the shooting in Portland and elsewhere. They are, ICE and CBP are breaking their own protocols. You read them earlier, their own protocols, and not only roughing people up, but literally shooting at people and killing them. When in some cases they're U.S. citizens and they're doing nothing wrong. So this is why I have said that the president is not following the law, why Kristi Noem needs to resign or be impeached, and why Tricia McLaughlin should not have the job that she has. She's a pathological liar. She's their spokesperson.
Okay, let me go through this really quickly here. Some of you guys are struggling to kick a particular bad habit, especially in the name of convenience. What am I talking about exactly? Well, as I go through this, I think you'll get the picture here, but we're talking about Fume Zero. This is a particular product that is not a vape. It's not a nicotine patch. It's flavored air, natural, clean, and satisfying to use when you catch yourself reaching out of stress or just plain old habits. This is no vapor, no batteries, no setup, just something that feels good in your hand, even better in your routine. And honestly, this could make all the difference for you, just like it did for me and 500,000 other people out there. Fume Zero can give you the new option to reach for, one that's simple, natural, and surprisingly satisfied. And guess what? It all just starts at $24.99. Super easy way to use it. My go-to, just so you guys are clear, is the flavor raspberry. And there's 6 other flavors that you could try for yourself. So be like the 500,000 people who have already made the switch to flavored air with Fume. And with Zero, it's never been easier to join them. All you have to do is click the link in the description below or scan the QR code on the screen. And I just have to keep on harping on it. I think the people who really should be getting a lot of backlash right now is the police chief and the mayor. They refuse to be a buffer for what's happening in their community. It's because they literally want this to happen. And I'll show you an example of it. Take a look at what happened this morning in Minneapolis.
People need to fucking show up with guns to face you guys. It's fucking time for an armed resistance against the United States of America.
Take your mask off.
This is done. We're done. You're fucking murderers. You shot a woman in a wheelchair.
Mask off, bitch boy.
We need to fucking come back with fucking weapons. Go to the gun store, get a gun, learn how to use it, and fucking face you guys man to man.
Now, what you can hear there from that protester is that he's going to collect up a bunch of people. They should go to a gun store, buy a bunch of weapons, come back, and shoot up these ICE agents. Why would someone say that out loud, especially on camera? I'm not following what's going on here. Again, these people are mentally unwell. This is not the way to push back against ICE agents. And that's just just look at the Minneapolis Police Department. They used to have 900 officers. Now it's down to 600. I wonder why that is. Wasn't because of protests. It was because the politicians believe in defunding the police. One could argue that the politicians are the ones who are truly dangerous.
Fuck the fuck up! Get back! Get back! Get back!
Okay, so what you just saw there in that clip also supports the argument that I have, is why aren't representatives condemning the behavior of protesters? These protesters are not peaceful. They're preventing ICE agents from leaving their vehicles. They're blocking vehicles. They're vandalizing vehicles. They're attacking ICE officers and impeding their operations. Don't you think if you want your community to be safe, you would be condemning that behavior? Well, I would probably say that that's not what they believe in, because just this morning, Ilhan Omar said this about Renee Good. Take a listen.
But do you see from the recordings that we see, is there anything that you believe was being done that should not have been done by Macklin Good? The administration says she was blocking the road. They are claiming this is an act of terrorism.
Yeah, Renee Nicole Good, as you hear her say, she's not mad. She's sitting in her car, peacefully waving cars to get by. This agent, as you see, gets out of his car, automatically starts running towards her, trying to open her door. She feels scared. She tries to turn the wheel away, and then you see the other officer, who can clearly see the car is moving, move towards the front of the car, which, if they are saying that he has 10 years on service and is trained, he should know that you shouldn't be trying to get in front of a moving car. And
that's the ignorance that I've been continuing to tell people about all of this, is that people think they're experts regarding what law enforcement should do. They obviously are acting as if he was in front of the vehicle the entire time. He wasn't. He was circling the vehicle. They actually were looking to remove her from the vehicle. I think they didn't expect that she would actually try to flee the scene. And then what do Democrats call that? Well, she wasn't fleeing the scene. She was just trying to get out of the way. That's how they gaslight people, folks. It's really a shame. But what's more of a shame is that they're willing to criticize the comments from the president, the vice president, and Kristi Noem, but they won't criticize the comments from the mayor, Jacob Frey, and the governor. Take a listen.
So it is not acceptable for Kristi Noem and the president and the vice president to make these kind of judgments without there being a full investigation, even though we can see in the videos that have been produced so far that what they are describing is really not what is taking place. And so if they're saying that we shouldn't believe our eyes, then let the investigation take place before you characterize this mother of three as a domestic terrorist.
All right. Well, number one, we went over the definition of domestic terrorism. The group that she's affiliated with would fall into that definition according to the actions that we've seen there. And maybe it doesn't hold up in court. It doesn't really matter in the end whether you believe that's the proper term or not. What matters is we have American citizens who are putting themselves in harm's way because they want to change the policy of the government. And there's a lack of the local police department controlling this stuff in their own jurisdiction. They could have easily shown up, removed her from off the road. We never would have heard of this. Let's go to Tom Homan. Here's what he said.
The environment right now with the threats against ICE officers have been shot at. They've had Molotov cocktails thrown on them. They've been doxxed. They've been, again, assaults up over 1,300%. Threats alone of 8,000%. And you're in a situation with this lady where it's impeding and interfering already. He's in a dangerous situation. And again, I want people to understand this. Put yourself in his shoes. Put yourself in his shoes. where he's in that environment, assaults against ICE officers all-time high. You have a vehicle that is pointed toward him and accelerates toward him. He has a second to make that decision. And I truly believe, and again, this will come out in the investigation, that in his mind, he feared for his life and he took appropriate action. And that, and according to federal law, that's a legitimate response. And even according to Minnesota law, Minnesota state law even talks about a vehicle coming towards you and your right to defend yourself. This officer, I think in his mind, did the right thing to save his own life and life of others.
Yeah, let me just add on to what he was saying there. The other thing that I find to be concerning is that these protesters have no idea who they're truly defending here. They believe they're defending the United States of America. They believe they're defending innocent people who are just trying to make a living. But when you actually hear the people being arrested in a state like Minnesota that are in the country unlawfully, you can't help but actually question why they believe these things. Let me show you an example. Here's some of the list that's been released by DHS of individuals who've already been arrested by DHS. Take a look.
You have an individual from Laos, illegal alien convicted of violent sexual assault of minors. A Salvadoran convicted of 3 counts of homicide. Another Laos convicted of sexual assault of a girl under 13 years old and procuring a minor for prostitution. You have a Mexican illegal convicted of homicide, a Sudanese illegal convicted of homicide, another Mexican national convicted of sexual assault of a child. You've got a Somalian citizen, illegal immigrant convicted of homicide, and the list goes on and on. This is just a sampling of those. And by the way, Laken Riley would have turned 24 yesterday, but her life was taken by an illegal immigrant allowed into this country from Venezuela.
But you never saw conservatives rioting on behalf of Lincoln Riley, burning down businesses, assaulting elected representatives or federal law. You never see any of that from the right. But on the left, when they disagree with something, this is what they do. Why don't you guys give me your thoughts in the comment section below to the update today with these interviews that you've seen for Kristi Noem. How do you think she handled herself? What did you make of Ilhan Omar's comments? And also Governor J.B. Pritzker? Just give me your thoughts, everything you got in the comment section below. Now, speaking of Ilhan Omar, she suffered a major blow yesterday after she tried to storm an ICE detention facility. This led to a square-off between her and ICE agents in front of the camera that did not go well. If you guys missed out on that update and more from yesterday, all you have to do is click on that video because it's coming up right now.